Our employers are dealing with extraordinary circumstances. The turbulence of the 2020 year with the pandemic hitting, balance sheets going sideways, then all these supply chain issues that, sure, maybe we can tie back to the pandemic, but are also still coming out of Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. And so when we start to think about these constraints, you've got purchase orders that folks are trying to make for materials. They can't get guaranteed prices, even sometimes down to the hour. Those material costs are going up, so there's no guarantee. And if you are a manufacturer, you're dealing with all of those considerations. It's very static in many respects.
I think one of the top issues we have right now is lack of workers. So I think we need to expand our legal immigration, but we have to work. What's the humanitarian disaster that's going on the southern border is not good though. So we got to be able to secure the border better, expand legal immigration. We also have a lot of Americans who are underemployed. So trying to teach them welding, the trades, pipe fitters, carpentry, truck drivers. A qualified workforce is one of the top issues I hear.
I think what's impacting our brick and mortar businesses, and some of the shopping centers are doing really well. I'm not just talking about malls, I'm talking about the plazas and the places that people go and buy their groceries. And then I've got this suite of downtowns, and our downtowns are really experiencing the ramifications of inflation. Rents are through the roof. And so I've been eyeing this for a long time. I keep up with my downtown shopping authorities and just sort of asking about, so what's it going to take to keep a business here?
Customers want to order from their house and have it delivered. And even pharmaceutical stuff, right? Heart drugs, your cholesterol drugs, you get them delivered right to your house. So the market, that is where we're going, and there's a high demand. And I think you can see it in our own families. People are ordering all the time. So this is the wave of the future. It's going to probably just keep growing. And I think if you're a company, you have to acknowledge it and make sure that you can compete in that space.
Well, certainly China, right, is a competitor. And I'm on the select committee on competitiveness with the Chinese Communist Party. And we can recognize them as a competitor, but not always necessarily a fair competitor. They're sometimes playing by their own rules. There's the stealing of intellectual property. There's tariffs on our products, which aren't reciprocated. We've put tariffs coming down, and then that's just ended up impacting our consumers by and large. And then there's some global markets where we're able to be really successful.
Actually, a lot of goods that we need too in the pharmaceutical area. For example, penicillin. That's not manufacturing necessarily, but China is probably they're a big exporter to us. But I think if you look around the world, we do a lot of trade in Europe, a lot of trade in the Middle East. Japan does have a very good trade. So I think it's pretty well dispersed, but what concerns us is not necessarily where import and export most countries. What we're worried about is key things that we do need, we're dependent on China for. And I don't think that's wise to be dependent on critical resources there. So that's something that we as Congress have to focus on and come up with some good ideas. We don't want to decouple from China, but we shouldn't be dependent on critical goods.
I think our consideration as the United States of America is, where are we going to be strategic about manufacturing? We've chosen to be strategic on chips. I think we're going to have to do the same for electric batteries that are going into the EVs, into the cars. I think we're going to have to do the same thing for minerals and certain materials and goods.
I think we're recovering some of that. Thankfully, I see some resurgence in the manufacturing area for America, but a lot more of it's becoming automated, which is a different aspect to we've increased manufacturing output, but our jobs have not translated that because America has gone to a lot of automated manufacturing. But there were a lot of people that lost their jobs and they had to learn new skill sets. That's hard on people, and it creates anxiety and stress on the homes, and we saw that. I think we're now in the area where we're competing more and more in the manufacturing, and we're starting to fill that gap.
A lot of times, what people don't realize with our smaller manufacturers in particular is that there are real capital constraints. They oftentimes want to expand. They've got some resources to do so, but some additional support. And look, you can look at how much we subsidize the agricultural industry as compared to not non-farm subsidies. And I would say that our state partners can throw out some more support that also frees companies up to pay their workers more, to train their workers. I mean, if you're in manufacturing, losing someone for 2 days to go on a training conference mission, a lot of them can't afford to do it. I mean, it's lean, it's cut to the bone, it's based on-time delivery and production. Our unions are playing a great role in this as well, but they're oftentimes tied to the bigger manufacturers.
We got to look at our regulatory environment. The fact is, regulations and the time it takes to permit things, it makes it very hard to be quick to get a plant up and going or expand. So there are regulatory things we can also do. So let's make sure we stay competitive tax-wise, regulatory-wise. Those are key. And let's find a way to bring in a talented workforce, or in some cases, I would even say unskilled labor legally.
COVID was a big wake up for the supply chains, not just the fact, and it was obviously horrific when we couldn't have access to hand sanitizer, when we didn't have access to masks, but also the further ramifications of our batteries being 85% of electric battery technology coming out of China, 90 some percent of minerals being processed in China. That dependency is not going to serve us well. This is why I played a role in authoring the CHIPS and Science legislation. Really excited. We're investing in science, but we're also investing in industrial policy in the United States of America by saying that we're going to put out that carrot of $52 billion that's already matched $200 billion of private sector investment to have from soup to nuts chip manufacturing in the United States of America. Design, production, shipment. These are things that we need to do, and that's part of that competition.
I think we surely don't want to make our companies less competitive because we have a higher tax code or we don't have the right tax incentives there. We also got to have immigration. A lot of our companies want to grow, but they can't find workers. Unfortunately, we're not getting the consensus we need right now, but we have to come to grips with illegal immigration is different than legal immigration. We can favor legal immigration, but not say illegal immigration is okay.